Um, are you dating anybody?
Well,
I like how it segued, didn't I? That was cute, wasn't it? I
You put
segued
them
right
on the
in.
spot.
I
You putting
sure
them
did.
on the spot.
um, I'll just say I had fun. I will say that.
You're like, I'm living my
That's
life,
right.
my
I
best
just
life.
right. I
Now,
just do me. I'm
now,
doing me.
all day long. No, I'm stop.
Exactly.
Now, you did a couple of videos on YouTube that has gotten a lot of traction. I don't date black men, and the other one is story time dating a white dude.
Yeah.
Uh, now, we're gonna queue up the I don't date black men video, and I just want to give a little bit of context before we start really diving into that conversation. Um, engineer, queue up video one.
Question that I have to ask sometimes is, how much do these white men love you? And there's nothing wrong with interracial relationships. I'm not going to have anybody coming on here saying that I'm saying anything is wrong with interracial relationships because I'm friends with quite a few, couples who are, white and black or, white Mexican, whatever, and, Asian and Latino, whatever. And those are some beautiful relationships and they genuinely are in there together making those relationships work. I'm talking about, and I'm gonna get on both sides. I'm talking about first though, black gay men who take pride in saying, "Oh well, I don't date other black men. It's just nothing that another black man can do for me, and we wouldn't want to, baby." But my thing is, a lot of these white men that y'all are running behind, they don't give a fuck about you either. Okay, because I go out to some of the clubs and stuff, especially here in West Hollywood, and I see the attitude. There are a lot of clubs that I go to, and I walk up in there, I got the same money as everybody else. Okay, I'm a person, I'm out doing my thing, having a good time, and I will walk into these bars, that are majority white, and these white bartenders see you, but they won't serve you, or they'll serve you last to act like they don't see you or whatever. And then 30 minutes later, after you done had a couple drinks and some Beyonce comes on or some Wale or whatever's playing in the club, every now and then they throw a little black song up in there, and some of them gay white girls, I tell you, by girls I mean boys, will be up in there doing this little twerk. And the twerk look like they shaking out a surfboard or some shit like that. And then they start coming up. How are you? Talking to you, when they're drunk, when you're drunk, and now they want to talk to you.
I love the fact that, like I said, a lot of people look at the title, they don't even fucking read it. That's when you realize, like, in that moment made me realize how much people just don't look at anything. They go based off of their feelings and emotions, right? That's how our political climate is right now. People go straight off emotions based off what they see instead of actually investigating. So when people would
Correct.
have actually investigated your video and what you actually had to say, that's why I wanted to play that snippet first before even actually going into conversation about it. I wanted people to realize, like, no, what you're saying is that basically you love black men all day long. It's just that some, not all black men tend to, again, that self hate that comes in, and they're talking about bad about each other and don't want to be around each other and try to appeal to that status. But they think that white men are that status that they need. But also, you're highlighting the fact that some of these white dudes are just fascinated about being with you. They want
Yes.
to see what it's like,
Yeah,
and
buddy.
that kind of also stems back to even slavery too, because they idolize the black man and his body and those things as some of the things they wish they had a lot of times. But secretly, they have this infatuation with the black man. You know what I mean? And so, regardless of the sexual orientation, racism is going to be where it is, even within in the community. Did I hit that on the money there?
Mm-hmm. You said that
Okay.
perfectly.
Go
So,
ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry, because I read that. I looked at the video. I was like, man, he made a point. But before I even read it, I looked at the comments. And then I read it first. I would see the video so I could see his perspective. Because I find that very
Yeah.
interesting to see it from your perspective of how that's viewed. King, what you got some thoughts about that, bro?
Yeah, I do. I think, from a hetero black male perspective, I think that it is, first of all, it's sad to see people still kind of isolating themselves um, because of these behaviors, because of these
Mhm.
insecurities. You know what I mean? I think that, people, I respect everybody's preference. I expect them to respect mine as well. But when you are part of that social dynamic where people are just experimenting, so to speak, you know what I mean? It seems like they're ethnically experimenting. Then that's
Mhm.
when, I think it kind of gets murky,
Mhm.
because you have to look at someone from an aspect of what are your motives? What do you
Yes.
really want out of this? Do you want something that is really fulfilling, or are you looking for some experimentation, some
Mhm.
experience to put under your belt so you can just move on to the next? So I think
Mm.
there it becomes more of someone being a user instead of, giving something back to that social group.
Mhm.
And Samson, do you find that more of that behavior in the more of the metropolitan bigger cities? Or would you say that you see that like basically practically everywhere, that mentality when it comes to black gay men and just gay men in period, altogether?
Oh, I think I definitely see more interracial gay relationships living on the West Coast for sure. Um, and I've never had an issue with interracial relationships. That's a
Mhm,
different thing versus
mhm.
um, being approached by a white man because he wants
Yeah.
some BBC. And
Mhm,
these are people who would never talk to you on the street. They would never talk to you or introduce you to their friends, but they want you to come to their
mhm,
apartment and bust their back out. Um,
mhm,
or the things that they say, the way that they talk to you, like when they're interacting with you, they interact with you in a way that lets you know they only view you based upon what a limited perception of your skin color is. And,
mhm,
so there's nothing authentic about those kinds of interactions. Um, and it's like disheartening how selective the gay white community can be about acknowledging whether or not they feel like Black Lives Matter or when they feel like they matter, or when they decide to pick those types of issues up. When they need numbers, when they need the Black gay community to show up for a larger
mhm.
issue that needs to be won, then all of a sudden Black Lives Matter.
Wait, hold
But
on.
Oh,
You're right.
wow,
He ain't
wow. You
lying.
hit on
No,
something.
he
He
ain't
hit
lying.
on something right there. Yeah.
I work for a credit union that's predominant. They really are big on, the gay community. But when it
mm-hmm,
came down to issues with the black community, it's like they took a stance during the pandemic, and then afterwards, oh, we don't care. We just did it for like we did it for shits and giggles, basically. And
Mhm,
and it's
mhm.
interesting where you're working with a whole bunch of people who are identifying in that group, where they basically act like you're nothing, you
yeah,
know. And what was very interesting working at that company was the fact that my boss was gay. She's a gay white woman, but
mm-hmm,
she
Mhm,
treated me like how a straight white woman would treat me,
mm,
like I was less than, or it was just really interesting, or try to gaslight me.
yeah,
So,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
it's
Oh,
very
wow.
funny to me because it's just like it comes to being gay as a white woman or a white man, it comes to their advantage when it's convenient for them.
Mhm,
That's the key word, when it's convenient for them, even though they know
yes,
there's a bigger cause out there.
hmm,
They're not with everyone. They're just as
mm-mm,
racist as their
yeah.
parents that didn't like them being gay.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
you're still
Yeah.
having that same racist
Yeah.
intonation,
Yeah.
in your life. That's weird.
And you know what? It was interesting. The same thing happens when it comes to some of the people in the Latin community. It's
mm-hmm,
like they don't I really identify with, the black and brown movements until it becomes more beneficial for them.
Hmm.
But they're able to step away whenever it's convenient and say, "Oh no, no, I don't want to be a part of that." So I can kind of see where some white people that are gay would say, no, I'm not a part of this, I'm not a part of that, and they kind of cherry pick what part of the movement they want to be a part of, which is really sad
Hmm.
because you never know. It's like your level of support is never consistent.
Yeah, it's a never consistent.